Okay, well, thank you, everybody. My name is Nathan Scott. I'm the Executive Director of MassEnergize. It's really a pleasure to have all of you here tonight. We've got as usual, some really wonderful speakers, and we're going to just start off with a couple of announcements. You know, we like to just give you some quick updates, let you know kind of what's going on, and then we'll have a number of speakers, and we'll be introducing them as the time goes on. So what I want to just start with is, I think at the last Community of Practice, we mentioned that we have a spring conference coming. So I just want to tell you a little bit more about that. We have not yet opened the registration, but I do hope that everybody will put this date on your calendar. The conference is called the Community Climate Leaders Conference for 2024. It is going to be on Wednesday, April 3rd. Currently, we've got it scheduled to be held at Brandeis, and I'll just give you kind of a quick minute to look at what these are just a summary description. We are still putting together the speakers. We're still putting together the workshops. We're still putting together our panel. So, the process is still going on. But really looking forward and hoping that all of you will join us on April 3rd. And please, we're calling this a Community Climate Leaders. Now, as far as I'm concerned, everybody can be and is a climate leader. So this is not a highly exclusive event. It's really intended to be for people who are either already leading their communities or would like to lead their communities, or would like to play a greater role in promoting climate action at the community level. So that's who it's geared for. And we will certainly be sending out announcements as soon as registration is open. We still have a few things left to do. And I'm gonna just turn it back over to Ellen to talk a little bit about kind of the next initiative that we've been working on.
Yeah, so I'm super excited. Just on the point about the conference, so I see people like Eric, the sustainability manager in Concord, and David from Harvard. So this is both folks like me who are on my energy committee, or volunteers, and sustainability managers, or like the planner of your town. Mike, someone from Nexamp might want to be there too. So it's a big tent. We're going to learn from each other. We're going to share, and we're going to think about some new things. So stay tuned for that. The thing I'm really excited to talk about is what we are calling our eco cohort. I mentioned it in our previous meetings, electrifying community outreach. We're very grateful to Senator Jamie Eldridge for pushing forth some funding to allow us to do this. And we are working with several people on this call. We are working with the towns and cities of Natick. So Debbie, and as every community has a community leader or volunteer and their sustainability managers. Debbie, and many of you know Jillian, and we are working in Acton with Andrea, Karen, KJ, and a whole bunch of people in the Acton volunteer community. In Wayland, it's myself and a couple other volunteers, and our new sustainability manager, Abby, and then Amy and other volunteers in Framingham, and wonderful Sean, the sustainability manager there. And we'll be kicking off a campaign around electrification, although we're branding it. We have a marketing consulting working with us. And there are going to be several things in that cohort that the rest of you will be able to take advantage of. And I want to just share the first one, and you'll be able to use it in a few weeks. We're not quite ready. We've designed a survey of community attitudes around solar, community solar, and heat pumps. The survey itself has two goals. One is just engagement. We're always just trying to also find things to engage people with. This is a survey people can take. We're going to really understand their views. You'll be able to ask them what town they're in, so we can give you disaggregated data just for your town or for everybody. So the survey itself, one goal is just engagement, right? Just getting people to be talking about climate. The second goal is we'd actually like to learn some stuff. So we're asking them, what do they know about those actions? What might motivate them to want to be interested in it? And what are the blockers? What are the things that might be getting in the way? And we have some ideas about addressing those blockers. And so we have some survey questions to say, if this happened, would it make you more likely to take a next step on that? So it's a pretty short survey. I also want to announce that Amy Palco, who most of you know incredibly well and is an amazing human being, is been hired now by us to be the eco cohort coordinator. So while I'm speaking about it, Amy's sort of day-to-day running, and Amy and I are partnering, and Nathan also is putting some time into this. So the survey, I think we'll be deploying it in the eco cohort over the next few weeks, but then we'll make the link available to anybody. And if any other communities want to use it, just be in touch with Amy and I, and we'll help you know how to use it. And Bev, if that's something MassCEC might want to play around with, we're open to talking to CEC about it, and we'll certainly share what we learn with everybody, including the MassCEC. So that's what I want to say about that. There'll be other things that we're doing that we'll share with the rest of you. But that's the first thing. And then we'll want to, any questions about that? Great. I want to say that I'm thrilled that we were finally able to align schedules and have folks from the Mass Clean Energy Center come give us a demo on their Clean Energy Lives Here site. I'm curious, has anyone been on the site? Like, give me a thumbs up, a hands up. All right, so I would say not the majority, Bev and Justin. So perfect, you get a chance to say it's a pretty cool website. Though Justin will give us a demo, and then I think Brad and I have been talking to them about ways to integrate our sites with their site and sort of amplify each other. And Brad and I can mention some of those things at the end. So over to the demo. If people have questions about it, I think, Justin, do you mind being interrupted? Do you want to save questions at the end? How would you like to handle it?
I think we can do them at the end.
Okay, so people want to put those in the chat so you don't forget. Sure. And then Amy and I can be monitoring the chat, as can Bev, I'm guessing, and kind of help answer those. So over to you, Justin. And Nathan,
did you want me to give a quick intro? I thought you wanted me to do an intro. I don't need to, but
yeah, no.
Does everybody know who Massachusetts Clean Energy Center is and like what kinds of overall things we cover? Because I'm happy to run through that real quickly. Okay, so we are, I know many of you, so thank you for letting us come and share this with you, because you're exactly the kind of audience that I think we want to help make a tipping point on people reaching this content that we've put together. And MassCEC, we are a quasi-state government agency. So we do work for the governor, and our goal is really to accelerate the clean energy economy in Massachusetts, but also to help the state meet its very aggressive climate goals that all of you are also trying to help meet. So we're funded by a very small surcharge on everybody's electricity bills. Nothing like what Mass Saves is, but it is sort of odd that it's just electricity, right? Because that's making electrification more expensive. The governor this year has given us some additional funds, which has let us hire some new people, including Justin. Justin's one of our newest employees. Yay, Justin. And we also have some, funding through federal funding as well. We have sort of like 4 focus areas. So you guys know offshore wind is really important to the state's renewable energy. That's like one of our big focus areas. Building decarbonization, which is where Justin and I work, and this website sort of came out of. Net zero, we need to figure out how to make the grid be able to handle renewables, right? And all this electrification. And then electrification of difficult to electrify transportation. So think the school bus initiatives for electrification, a lot of environmental justice kind of work. So this website is, Justin's gonna do a quick demo, and you guys can ask us a bunch of questions about it. I feel like we're just gonna hit the tip of the iceberg with what's in the content. But I'll hand it over to Justin, who is a great ambassador for this site.
Thanks, Bev. Thanks for the introduction. Hi, everyone. My name is Justin Pax. I'm a program administrator at MassCEC. As Bev said, we work on buildings programs together. My work is mostly focused on small residential programs, so mostly single family and 2-family, up to triple decker, but on the smaller side. So I put the link in the chat to the website so you can go to it now, but I'll also share my screen. Hopefully everyone can see the screen. Great. And yeah, so we're super happy that you're all interested in learning more about electrification and energy efficiency. The goal with Clean Energy Lives Here and this website is to put as much of the available information as possible into one place to make it accessible. So Clean Energy Lives Here is MassCEC's consumer awareness campaign for homeowners who are interested in electrifying and relying less on fossil fuels in their homes and for their transportation. Clean Energy Lives Here is a broad marketing effort that includes Google search ads, digital billboards, and TV commercials. The core content is on this website, which describes different technologies, gives estimated costs, shares available incentives, and features short video content, articles, and customer stories. You can find the website by typing "Go Clean MassCEC" into your search engine or cleanenergyliveshere.com. If you hover over Clean Energy Solutions here in the top menu, like I'm doing, you can see all the technologies on the website. There are a couple main sections, including weatherization, heating and cooling, solar, appliances, electricity, and transportation. Each of the main sections, as you can see, has sub-pages with its related technologies. Today, I'll highlight a few of the technology pages, which all feature the same layout, so you can get a taste. And I'll start with the air source heat pumps page. All right, so the first thing you'll see at the top of any of these pages are the benefits of the technology up here. And that's followed by a written description of how the technology works and a home diagram that helps you visualize the technology, and you can toggle between different home setups. These pages also feature short videos, such as how a heat pump works from this old house, as well as customer stories based on real experiences with the technology. We've also listed the incentives and financing options, which homeowners are encouraged to leverage. And there's an example cost of installing heat pumps. And you can see the cost before and after incentives. Towards the bottom, there's a list of questions and answers that features common reasons for people to install heat pumps. You can click through these and read the answers. And I'd like to highlight that this box here is actually a link that takes you to MassSave's heat pump installer network search tool, where you can search within their network of nearly 1,400 heat pump installers to find one near you. And then at the bottom of the page, we have articles which are helpful for homeowners at all stages, those who are thinking of installing heat pumps and those who have heat pumps. Examples include things to do before installing an air source heat pump and questions to ask your air source heat pump installer. So next, I'm going to go back to Clean Energy Solutions at the top and go to the induction cooking page under appliances. So induction cooktops are going increasingly popular for their many benefits, including safer and quicker cooking. We can see those benefits again here at the top of the page, along with the written description and the diagram. There's also a short video here where a chef addresses myths about induction cooking and demonstrates how to use a cooktop. It's a fun video to watch. And this customer story also highlights the benefits of induction when you have kids at home in regards to safety and air quality. Again, we have the rebates here from MassSave and federal rebates that can be applied to induction cooktops, and the example cost of installing induction before and after incentives. The question and answer section further highlights the benefits of induction, especially its superior efficiency and emissions-free cooking as compared to cooking with gas. And then at the very bottom, we have those articles for you to look at, such as things to do before installing an induction cooktop and caring for your new cooktop. So that's what the pages look like. And quickly, I want to show you the benefits and savings page, also here in the top menu. So if we click on this, we get a comprehensive overview of all the technologies and all the incentives. So you can see the technologies are here on the left, and all the incentives and financing options are here at the top. So if we were to search for something like a heat pump water heater, you can see in the chart, there's rebates from MassSafe, there's federal tax credits, and there's financing available through MassSafe Heat Loan. And you can look at those in the table for the other technologies as well. And then I'll just quickly highlight the installer's resources and customer stories tabs up here on the top for you to explore further. So this was just a short overview of the website, but we think it's a great resource for homeowners who want to improve their homes and help the climate. We encourage you to explore it more and note that it can be translated into hundreds of languages using this tool in the top right, this drop down. You can select a language that will translate all the text on the website. We also encourage you to sign up for the monthly newsletter, which you can do by clicking here in the top banner or on the pop-up if it appears, and that highlights different technologies every month and shares information about incentives. So that's it. Thank you very much, and we can take questions.
Aaron, do you want to just offer that perspective to Bev and Justin?
Yeah. I mean, sometimes people hear about the MassCEC, or they hear that they're, you can find these great suggestions. But when you go to the main MassCEC website, it's pretty like overwhelming, and it's not immediately obvious that there's sort of a consumer link. So yeah, I just wonder if there might be some way to like highlight this Clean Energy Lives Here. Also, in the section under things to ask your installer, we're finding in Acton that a lot of the traditional HVAC folks are really encouraging people to go for American style air source heat pumps that, where under 30 degrees, it defaults back to the natural gas system or oil system that they have. And I would just put in a plug for, ask your installer about cold weather heat pumps that, are efficient down to, that don't require significant backup. Anyhow, thanks. It's a great website. I love that Clean Energy Lives Here. It's awesome.
Yeah, I agree on the points about, that's a good thing for us to adjust on our questions to add heat pump installers. I agree completely. And that resource was written before the right after the $10,000 came out, and we didn't see how much people would be pushing for that. I will say MassSave just put out a notice today to all the installers and their heat pump. They're changing the requirements, and you'll actually have to disengage, the 10,000 is supposed to be for using it at heating, right? But you don't really have any, I think that when they've been seeing what people are actually doing, they're not using it for heating. They're just getting free air conditioning equipment, right? And so they're changing some requirements around that. And they're also requiring a certain level of, a much higher level of insulation and air sealing before you can get that $10,000. So, but that's MassSave. Like, it's just our point to try and, they don't cover a lot of the technologies, MassSave, or market sort of this way in a consumer way. And so we're just trying to like put everything in one place, and then hopefully they will adapt over time and like take the best of this, right? That's sort of like our goal with this. But I agree, that's a really good point.
But Ellen from Harvard, I'll let you ask a question. Are you asking whether MassCEC can provide some resources as speaker? I'll let you just state it.
You want me to say what I'm asking?
Yeah, because I wasn't totally clear.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to type and listen at the same time. Makes sense. Okay, so we're doing something in the winter to really push solar a little bit more, and so we have someone who can speak to rooftop solar, and that's pretty common here. But what we're finding in Harvard, where we have so many trees that and homes don't face the right way, that we need to really have someone speak to the solar farms that you can join, but we don't really want it to be one of the businesses. We prefer it's a little more neutral, but I didn't know if that's anything that you do, because I'm trying to find someone who can really speak to that. It'll probably be a Zoom meeting in, I don't know, February or something.
Yeah, we don't have the capacity to show up at in-person meetings. I will say we have resources for you if you do have in-person meetings. And maybe you're talking about an evening web thing. Like Justin and I are probably the exceptions of most public agencies willing to come to night meetings like this. Also, we don't have that expertise at all. So
I have a suggestion for you though, Ellen. I mean, I do think MassEnergize has a portal for community solar, and they do have people who will present on that. I will say Mike Spiro from Nexamp, our next speaker, is a community solar provider. So you could also ask two of them to present and at least offer more than one option, but they can be effective presenters and explain that they're not the only game in town. We'll ask Mike.
No, thank you. I actually have reached out to EnergySage. I just haven't been able, no one's been contacting me back. So maybe I'm calling, I don't know, I have to figure out who to track down there, but I'm trying that. Yeah.
Okay. We might be able to help you with that too.
Thanks.
And we're hoping you guys will spread the word about this website. And honestly, we have a short 5-minute YouTube video that does a demo like this. So if you're ever at a meeting or with a neighbor or something like that, Justin, do you mind throwing that in the chat?
Yeah. I'll go ahead.
There's a YouTube on the MassCEC YouTube channel that goes through a lot of this, just a slightly shorter version.
I think, yep, great. We'll put that in here, and we'll send it with the follow-up stuff, which I think will be
great.
I see a couple of more questions, and then I want to hand it over to Mike from Nexamp to say on schedules. So I see, so Wendy from Newburyport says additional specific steps for electrifying older historic homes. Like, is there a separate way into that conversation, or do you have to kind of go technology by technology, Bev?
Yeah, you sort of do. I think this is a first step, and we're interested in feedback like that. And I will say we have a resource if you do have like an energy fair or something that is very targeted at older homes, which is most people don't realize how leaky their home is. And so we have like this big cutout board that's sort of like cornhole, and you throw stuffed mice through the different levels of holes. But the first one is, the housing stock of Massachusetts is like the second oldest in the nation. So the average home is pretty old. And if you add up all the air leaks in it, it's a huge hole like this, right? It's like having a window open all winter. And then we have a slightly smaller one that's like, if you're going to go to whole home heat pumps, how much less air you want to be leaking out of your house in order to be comfortable, and then sort of what code is. So we have that. We can loan to people if they want to take it to any energy fairs. It's sort of a fun entryway into getting people to your table. Just reach out to me and I can coordinate it.
We'll provide that Bev's email in the follow-up, because a lot of you guys have run energy fairs or doing other things, and we're always looking for a hands-on activity. That's great. I'm going to do one more, and then we're going to a few minutes behind, then we'll hand it to Mike. So Gary asked from Melrose, information for income eligible customers. I know that's on there, but it's by technology too, right, Bev? And the same for the rebates.
It is, and we're talking about, we're in the process of revamping the site so that it's better for multifamily and renters in particular. And there'll be a lot more information about that. So like the best resource that I think out there is, All in Energy's webpage. They have really good stuff right on the front that's aimed at that.
And Karen, did you have a last question, or was your hand up and down, or was that a legacy hand?
I just wondered if the MassCEC website has some kind of template for helping people plan the steps of transitioning to clean energy.
We used to, on our first version of this, before we updated it, we had a plan. Basically, we encouraged people to come up with a plan. And we found people didn't do that on their own, but that's why we're doing decarbonization pathways, which is sort of like, if Mass Save were to be a plan for how to get your home to net zero over time, what would that look like? And we're doing 60 homes right now with a little bit of additional funding to see how far we can get with that. So again, like MassCEC, I think we're good in the innovation space where we show like a different potential way that Mass Save or other state agencies might go that have more resources. We're sort of tiny, but like we try and have an impact on others by demonstrating.
And Karen, that may be something we can do on our eco cohort a little. So we're thinking about that. All right, I'm gonna wrap this so that we can stay on agenda. I want to say thank you to Justin and to my dear friend who I've known forever, Bev, for you guys being willing to do a night thing. And we really appreciate that. Brad and I talked to one of Bev's colleagues, Susan, about how our sites can also plug and play with the Clean Energy Center. And I think we're thinking they're very interested in all the events that we're hosting, particularly our shared events, so that those could be featured on the Clean Energy Lives Here. And also we have way more testimonials than they have. So I think we can help do that. At the same time, I think as you guys look at your own sites, you might want to link to them on some of the actions where they have some, good descriptions of the technologies and videos. And so we're going to be exploring that, and you all can be doing that now because you control your own sites, right? You don't need us to act. I think there'll be a lot of amplification and endorsement across the boards. So thank you to Bev and Justin. So let me just hand it over next to Mike Spiro from Nexamp and others from Newburyport. And I know one of the people couldn't make it, Mike, but maybe somebody else is, and I'm hoping you're watching who's there to talk about this battery storage project they rolled out in Newburyport and their thoughts about where this might be going. And I think Mike's looking for some reactions and some feedback from a bunch of communities. So that's what we are able to offer.
Exactly. Perfect. And okay. I'll try and fly through it then. So hi, everyone. My name is Mike. I'm the Director of Consumer Products at Nexamp. For those of you who don't know, Nexamp is a community solar developer based here in Massachusetts. I'm actually not here to talk about community solar, though, as much as I love it. And I think there's a presenter after me who is talking about community solar. So I'll try not to steal too much of their thunder. But just to give you a brief overview of who we are, we were founded and are still headquartered here in Boston. And even though we're operating nationally now, we're still very much a Massachusetts company and proud of our roots. But yeah, so what I mainly wanted to talk to you guys about today is energy storage. And maybe like quick show of hands or thumbs, who is familiar or not familiar with energy storage? Thumbs up, thumbs up. All right, I see lots of thumbs up or sideways thumbs. All right, I'll give the brief overview. So at a lot of our community solar farms and also at other just commercial and industrial sites, we operate big batteries. It's hard to sort of tell in the pictures here, but these are like shipping container sized batteries. And essentially what they're doing is storing up electricity that's being captured during the day when it's sunny to save for times when it's cloudy or like imagine a hot summer evening when everyone's blasting their air conditioning. We really want to leverage as much clean energy as possible during that time and not be relying on fossil fuel peaker plants. So this is sort of a business that Nexamp has been in for a while. And actually, this technology is now starting to become more popular at the residential scale as well. And you may have heard the term virtual power plant or VPP. Which in short is essentially an aggregation managed remotely of smaller batteries in a home that essentially mimic the same benefit of these really big shipping container sized batteries. And so just to give you a sense of why this is so important, this isn't Massachusetts specifically, this is just for visual purposes here. But this is what's called the duck curve, which essentially talks about how, during the day when the sun is shining, the grid is actually quite clean today. We got lots of solar energy on the grid. There's not that much demand. it's really these sort of evening and nighttime, particularly in the summer, like I was mentioning, where we're really seeing the hardest time keeping the grid clean. So again, imagine a hot summer evening, everyone's blasting the air conditioning, you've got the TV on, you've got the dishwasher running, the clothes dryer running. This is essentially like peak electricity demand in Massachusetts. And this is why we need fossil fuel power plants to still exist, because, there's limited solar and wind energy during those times. And so National Grid and Eversource also have nightmares about these days, because that's when they have to call up those fossil fuel power plants and say, hey, we need you guys to kick it up a notch tonight, to make sure there aren't brownouts or blackouts. And so energy storage is one way, like I was mentioning before, that you can help manage this peak demand. So again, essentially what that's doing is capturing solar energy generated at these times of surplus and then deploying it to the grid or to homes directly when there's less of that surplus clean energy. But if any of you guys have a Google Nest or other smart thermostat, potentially you're already also part of a virtual power plant, where maybe you see those notifications where they say, hey, there's a peak rush hour rewards event happening right now, which is at least what my Nest calls it. And what they'll actually do is start pre-cooling my house, like around this time, sort of 3-4 o'clock, and then they'll actually turn off my thermostat remotely during this peak time and then turn it back on once we've sort of gotten past that peak time. So you may also see the same thing with your home EV charger, where your EV charger might say, hey, we're actually, even though you're plugged in, we're actually not going to start charging until 10 o'clock, but don't worry, we're still going to make sure that you're all charged up and ready to go by the morning, to essentially help alleviate the strain during this peak time. And so traditionally, if any of you guys have had a solar, like rooftop installer, come by your house, they've probably also tried to upsell you on having one of these batteries at your house. The major problem, though, is that they're very expensive, inaccessible to most homeowners. They'll generally run you around $25,000, depending on how big your house is. That's like for the battery and the installation and everything. And in a way, it's a little silly. The way I like to think about it is, if you're a homeowner buying a battery, it's sort of like you being a 16-year-old who just got your driver's permit buying a Ferrari, where, like, you're not nearly experienced and knowledgeable enough, compared to a professional race car driver, for example, to get the best use out of that Ferrari. Companies like Nexamp, who have big time experience operating these kinds of batteries, this is essentially what we're really good at. We're battery nerds, essentially. And so what our idea is to flip this model on its head and say, you know what, instead of trying to sell you this $25,000 Ferrari battery, we're actually going to own and operate the battery for the long term. And we're just going to host it at your house. And so in exchange for doing that, you get backup power, essentially highly subsidized by us, working with National Grid and Eversource and other entities to be operating the batteries smartly to help manage this duck curve, essentially. So essentially, we're the drivers of the Ferrari, and you guys get to be the passengers, having a great time on the racetrack with a professional driver driving. And so why I'm talking to you guys is because, like Ellen was saying, I think you are sort of the perfect people to help be spreading the word about these sorts of programs and be helping to launch them in your towns. Like Ellen mentioned, we've actually already started a pilot program doing this in Newburyport, where we just found around 10 of our customers, and in some cases our community solar customers, and in some cases even people who aren't community solar customers, and are saying, hey, we're going to put this battery in your house. It might look a little bit like this, as sort of a proof of concept for ourselves. And essentially that's, even though we haven't quite gotten to the installation phase of that yet, we're still working through some interconnection business. We've essentially learned enough to know that, hey, we think this can work and that this is something that we could do all over the state. And I started actually pulling some data from the DPU. I'll zoom in on this a little bit. I don't know how small it is. The DPU actually releases outage data by town. Eversource and National Grid and Unitil are required to report this every year. And a lot of MassEnergize towns have big time outage issues. So Franklin had the most pure number of outages, over 100. Framingham had the most impacted homes, which I don't actually know how many homes there are in Framingham, but if, say, a home was impacted by 2 outages, they would be counted twice in this number. Harvard Mass had the longest average duration, which was over 5 hours. And Acton had the most like total customer outage hours. So it pains me in the same way that it must pain all of you that a lot of these homes are going and calling up generator installers and saying, hey, I'd love a generator at my house to help manage these outages I'm experiencing. And that's, one more fossil fuel powered device that we don't want to have in the world. We can't afford to have in the world. We would much prefer for all these folks to have batteries that provide similar backup resiliency. Not quite, sort of the main weakness is that they are limited as opposed to a generator, which could theoretically run forever. But that also have these great benefits for the grid and help to reduce our reliance on fossil fuel peaker plants. And so just to give you a quick summary of sort of what we learned in Newburyport so far, just sort of on the community engagement side, there's a couple key things that we did that I think worked really well, which is that to start, we were talking to folks in town like you, the Newburyport Energy Advisory Committee, and getting feedback and support and ideas. We did some co-marketing where we sent out an email to our customers saying, hey, with the support of the Newburyport Energy Advisory Committee, we're working on this new program. The town energy office also sent out a message about the program in their newsletter. We did some tabling at local events. We went to an Earth Day celebration. We went to the farmers market. We actually got some press on the Newburyport Daily News and ACES, thanks to some of these efforts. And this sort of did a great job at sort of drumming up interest in town about the program. And so I'm probably getting close to the end of my time now. There's a lot of details I left off, but yeah, mainly I would love to set up time with any of you guys individually who are interested in getting a program like this off the ground in your towns.
Great, thanks, Mike. So I just want to open that up for questions, or if there's also anybody else from Newburyport that wanted to chime in about the experience. I think this was just a good chance for Mike to introduce this to a variety of towns. So I'm particularly interested because I know we have people from Acton and Harvard and Framingham in the room. I wasn't sure about Franklin because I don't see that, but so open up questions or thoughts from Harvard, Acton, Framingham.
Well, from Newburyport, I'm about to get one.
Hey, Wendy, how's it going?
Good. So we've been going through the process and I'm excited.
Well, one of the things Mike said to me, and I think it's worth noting, is I think Nexamp is interested in trying to do this in some concentrated towns because they do need to work with the building inspectors. As we know, building inspectors and batteries are are choppy waters right now. And so they don't want to be doing this in 40 towns. Really like to work with a few municipalities to help make sure people understand what protections are needed or not needed around batteries. So I think as opposed to just using their own list of all their community solar subscribers, that they'd like to be a little more concentrated. And that made some sense as people try to explore this. So that's another reason. So thanks, Wendy. KJ, Karen, Ellen from Harvard, Amy,
Ellen, there are a lot of questions in the chat.
Okay, great. Sorry.
Yeah, it looks like a bunch about fire safety.
Fire, yep.
So yeah, I can touch on that a little bit. So yeah, I'd be lying if I said there was zero risk involved with installing a battery in your house. Anyone who told you there was zero risk with installing a battery in your house would be lying. But the way I've been explaining it to folks is it's about the same risk as driving an electric vehicle and parking that electric vehicle in your garage or in your driveway next to your house. These batteries are essentially slightly smaller versions of the batteries that are in all the electric vehicles these days.
So Karen from Acton is saying new fire regulations. Karen, Watkins, do you want to just state this? These are the regulations you're referring to?
I mean, it would be great to be able to address those concerns with some real statistics. I mean, we had a project for a big battery storage in a neighborhood here in Acton, and there was a lot of neighborhood opposition. And I ran into, it wasn't in my neighborhood, but I ran into somebody in my neighborhood who said, oh yeah, if you put battery storage in your garage and it catches on fire, the fire department won't even fight the fire. They'll just watch it burn out. People don't know. I said, well, I wonder how that compares with fires started by natural gas.
Or diesel generators or, propane tanks. But yeah, I get what you're saying. So what our strategy was in Newburyport is actually one of the first groups we talked to was the fire department. Just to tell them, hey, this is something we're planning to do in town. And similar to you guys, we were asking for their input, their feedback, their interpretation of the state fire code. And essentially what that was if you're putting the battery in an unfinished space, which is often the case for a Massachusetts basement, essentially what we're doing is building like a fire rated closet around the battery, which helps make the fire department a lot more comfortable, as opposed to it just being right immediately adjacent to like flammable material. And then the other option is like in a finished garage or a finished basement, where then you often already have, like as part of the building inspection you got as part of that construction, probably already have all those same fire rated capabilities. But we also have like a whole emergency plan essentially that we filed with the fire department. They're going to come out and sort of inspect these things with us and understand where they are in the homes. And this is sort of stuff we're really good at because, similar to what you're saying about the project in town, we've essentially had to have that conversation with fire departments for every single one of those big batteries that we've installed. So that's sort of just part of our model is like, yep, we're going to invest the time and like work with and talk to these people in town who have the most to worry about with these batteries. So okay. It's not a perfect answer. Ideally, these would be 100%, 101% safe. But essentially we're doing all that we can do to make it as safe as possible. And truly it's not for everyone. Some people are going to say, hey, even if it's 99.9999% safe, it's just not something I'm comfortable with. And that's fine.
One of the things I want to move us on to the next one. There were a lot of questions around batteries. You didn't touch on the cost, Mike, and you and I discussed that. So very expensive to own. Yours is essentially a leasing model. And I know you're still honing in on price. In a Newburyport, they were free because of it was a pilot. So
yeah,
Wendy's in that group, but for future channels, that would not be the case.
correct. Yeah. So, like I said, there's sort of a spectrum of options, and we've done some research with Massachusetts residents and sort of have some initial hope that we think we have a nice sort of Goldilocks spot in the middle of all these offerings. So on the very cheap end of the spectrum, you know what? And I have a little visual I can bring up. There we go. And I'll go super fast, Ellen. Sorry. I won't cover every single cell of this table. But on the cheap end of the spectrum, you have a portable generator, right? That you can just go buy at Home Depot or Lowe's. That'll cost you a couple $1,000s max. But the problem there mainly is, you know, you have to be comfortable going down into the basement and hooking this thing up, you know, when the power goes out. The next option you have is a standby generator. You've probably seen these Generac boxes at some of your neighbors' homes. That'll be more like $12,000, $15,000, maybe even $20,000, depending on how big your house is. And the benefit there is that that'll kick on automatically. And then, like I said, on the very high end is the retail cost of one of these batteries, which is pretty inaccessible for most people. We think with this subsidization we can do from operating the batteries as part of a virtual power plant and getting some of that revenue from National Grid and Eversource that would otherwise go to the fossil fuel peaker plants, we think we can subsidize that to about $50 a month, or about a $6,000 upfront payment, or sorry, $6,000 over the cost of the 10 years of the life of the battery. So it sort of sits in this nice little in between, like the portable generator and the standby generator, where you're only getting a limited amount of backup power. But like we talked about here, you know, even the MassEnergize town that had the longest average outage durations, this is well within the capability of the battery in most homes. So
I think it's to Brad's question, which is the kilowatt hours that you could supply to home. But let's actually just make that English. You know, the batteries, how big? It's not going to power everything in your house, and for how long? And this will be my last question, and then we'll have to move on, Mike. But then if people are interested, we'll give you Mike's email and he can put it in the chat and people can follow up. You know, eventually EV cars are going to be bi-directional, so you'll be able to use the battery in your car. Will this not be relevant at that point? You'll lease until you can use the battery in your car. So 2 questions: how much will it do? And is this really just kind of a in-between technology until bi-directional cars work?
yeah, so depending on the size of your house, the backup would probably be anywhere from, or not the size of it, like the usage in your house. The backup power would be anywhere from like 6 to 24 hours. So yeah, if you're really worried about the week-long winter storm outage knocking out power for a week, you know, you should go with a generator, not a battery. But that's something like the process we did with Wendy and the other folks in Newburyport is we look at your electric bill, which will show that you're trailing 12 months of usage. And we look at, in some cases, we might actually install an energy monitor in your panel. And that gives us a really good sort of proxy to estimate how much backup power you'll get.
It's taken us way long, but just the bi-directional thing.
Bi-directional, sorry. So yes, bi-directional will be possible in the future, but do you want to drain your car to power your house and then wake up the next morning and have a dead car and no more backup power? So, you know, it'll be a risk. It'll definitely be part of the ecosystem though.
I want to thank Mike. Nexamp's been a nice partner for us. We do promote community solar with lots of people. Nexamp's one, Sunwell, Sean, I think is here, who spoke to us last week. So they've been great about sharing the number of people in community solar in each of your communities, and we load that up into your site. So And we applaud their interest in innovating and trying new things. So if you're interested in learning more about maybe working with Nexamp, get in touch with Mike, and you can kind of go in a deeper dive, Karen, into batteries. But I think he's looking to find a few communities where folks, both at the town level, at the volunteer level, would be interested in promoting. And I'm sure we will be interested in hearing how Wendy's installation goes and how it goes in other parts of Newburyport with other folks. So thank you, Mike, for that. And Ellen is looking for speakers on community solar, so she can also be in touch with you, and you might be able to connect her with some others. All right. Now, so we heard from Sean last month, and we just wanted to invite Sean back. If you guys remember, Sean did a really nice job explaining community solar and mentioning that SunWealth has an income eligible solar program. It's available really in almost all of our MassEnergize communities. If you're not MLPs, if you're in Eversource East, which is really the vast majority of us. So I didn't want to have another presentation. This was really a chance, Sean. I know we always not struggle, but we always have a lot of intention to make sure we're providing options for people who are renters in all of our communities, and community solar is one of those things. And SunWealth specializes in income eligible community solar. So and has had some good luck partnering with some communities. Wayland's one where we've introduced them to our housing authority, and that resulted in a lot of people signing up. So I think this was just a chance to see, are other people interested in learning more about working with community solar on the income eligible side, have questions for Sean. I know our eco cohort, Sean, is going to be promoting community solar in Framingham, Natick, Acton, Wayland, those four. And so we're going to be thinking about whether we do an RFP or not, but we are going to be promoting community solar, and we definitely want to target, Amy, folks of a variety of incomes, and we are having some intention of making sure there's good offerings on the income eligible side. So we'll be in touch with you about that. Other questions? I'm going to sort of just, or Sean, is there anything else you would want to say? Because I don't want to do the presentation again.
Right. Yeah, of course. I'm not going to present a presentation, Ellen, but this is just a one slide on the actual project. It's in Needham, Mass, and like Ellen said, it's income eligible for anyone in the Eversource East territory. And I think would love to answer questions and kind of look to the communities, organizations that are here. If there's anyone who thinks that this could be of value to your constituents, it's coming online before the end of the year. So kind of definitely have that immediate need both on our end to fill it, but then hopefully on the subscribers end to get some short-term value out of this. So
Amy, you look
just letting you know that it's a solar plus storage project as well. There's some pictures of it kind of in active construction in Needham. So happy to answer questions or follow up afterwards. Just kind of one
question, Sean. I see one question already. Amy from Framingham.
Hi, Sean.
Yes. Hi, Amy.
Is this a public? Could people from the public go see this instance? I am excited to promote community solar in Framingham, but there's a lot of doubts about what the projects really are. Are they legit? You've heard all those concerns. Are they local? Are they cutting down forests, et cetera, et cetera? And like just having these pictures and an address is really helpful right there. So
absolutely.
Is this somewhere someone could drive by and look at it?
Yeah, you could actually see it right off of Route 90. I was driving the other day and I caught a glimpse of it. But John has floated the idea of us doing kind of some sort of, he was saying more like a ribbon cutting thing, but I would be happy to, Amy, if you think that there would be interest in like a tour or something like that, we can chat and see if that's something where I could meet people out there and talk about the program and show them the site.
Thank
I
you.
also wonder if you could make a little video that would like show
Yeah.
that might be for people who can't
Maybe.
go, want to just know it's real.
Yeah.
Karen, you had your hand up.
Absolutely.
Ekin?
When on your slide it says number of subscribers 150, does that mean the number of like electricity household, I mean the number of households that could, I mean, is it capped at 150, and how quickly will you fill that number?
Yeah, it means number of households, and I don't know how quickly I'll fill it. I hopefully quickly, but it's definitely kind of bits and pieces for our organization. We're on the early stages of kind of like big marketing and acquisition work. So looking to take a real like community driven approach to our acquisition efforts. I'll say also, Karen, that this is just one project that's coming online at the end of the year, but we have a whole host of other projects that are in construction right now for like Q1 and Q2 of next year. So there's that opportunity as well. And we can do kind of a warm wait list to keep people engaged. And if we don't have opportunities for people, we can point them to MassEnergize or Nexamp or whoever has capacity available.
Any other questions for Sean? I know Amy, we will follow up with the representing the 4 towns, which includes Karen and Amy. Any other questions? I mean, we will circulate Sean's information. We'll remind you of it. We think it's a great, community solar is a great option for folks who can't put solar on their roof. And as Sean pointed out earlier, and Mike, you probably agree with this, market rate customers are going to save about 10% of their bill, and income eligible sort of in that 20-25% range. So it's one of those things that it does save you money and is helping ensure that these kinds of projects can be financed in the future.
Thank you guys for the time. Appreciate it as always.
Thanks for listening. I know Nexamp and Sunwealth have a lot of cross-fertilization, so you guys are welcome to stay, but you guys are also welcome to leave. We kind of go into a round-robin community sharing about what folks are doing. So any last questions for them? And otherwise, we'll sort of morph into our last 20 minutes here, which I'd love to do. Okay. So I think, Amy, you and I usually do this, but I think we're just kind of open it to the floor and what people are doing we try to think about this like requests and offers. Here's something cool I'm doing, or here's something I'm struggling with I could really use some help on. So just opening the floor tonight for some sharing. From Harvard, you mentioned you're going to be doing something in the early winter promoting community solar. Is that what I heard?
Yeah, we're going to try. We've done a lot on heat pumps. We'll do we're going to do our heat pump gathering at our general store again in January, where we just kind of open it up to having our coaches there, and then anybody in the town who wants to come and hear a little bit about it. David Fay, who was on tonight from Harvard, he's going to lead some of that effort because he's very active with Heat Smart Alliance. And then solar, I just feel like we haven't done enough. And so we're going to try the same thing, get a solar person and someone who can really talk about the community farms or the community gardens and let people know what to do. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to do. You guys are the ones, you're testing things out of how to get more people to kind of jump in and do these things. And I don't know.
We can share with you some of what's happening in the eco cohort, because we're definitely going to do some campaigns around community solar and solar. So Ellen, we'll keep you abreast of that to see if there's stuff you want to take advantage of with that. Or
yeah, I mean, I think we're trying to hit that, and then we're still trying to hit things from the forest management, yard, lawn, know your land kind of things too. We're still trying to push that through the winter. Get more pollinator kits in, have people get involved with that. I don't know. We're trying to do it from both sides.
Okay. Others? Anybody else want to share?
Yeah, this is Molly from Newburyport. I came on a little late. Sorry about that. Some of the things we're working on, specialized code, getting that passed. So I don't know if anyone's done that in the group. would love to hear people's thoughts on that. And then the other thing I would love to know is, if people that have done community solar, has anyone had the issue of the massive amount of credits on their national grid bill that occurred over last year with the price hikes? And if you had an aggregation program, also in the city, you really had huge amounts of credits.
Right,
so I'd love to hear.
Let's take two at a time. Yeah, let's take one. Other communities that have passed the specialized code. Wayland, we're going to put it on for May town meeting, but anybody want to just volunteer? There is a good listserv on this that you're probably on, Molly, that the Lisa Cunningham runs, that's very active at sharing experiences. But anybody else want to just talk about their experience passing? Brad, you guys passed it in Concord.
We passed it, and it wasn't a huge lift for us, partially because we're in the group of 10 towns that is trying to go fossil fuel free. So given that, and we were assuming that, I still assume that, the additional effort to make it the specialized stretch code is pretty small compared to the new stretch code. But I could certainly share slides with anybody that, about the kind of presentations we gave and stuff.
Molly,
yeah, that would be great. That would be great.
There's this other group, and I can connect you to that listserv, and there's a whole Google folder of everyone's slides.
If you could send me that would be terrific.
I'll introduce you to that, and I'm happy to share the slides we put together in Wayland, and they're great. I have lots of slide decks, and you can just look at that folder. And
perfect.
Karen, and then Rob and from Ashland on this topic. Yeah,
I think Robin, maybe they should go first because I've talked a lot tonight.
Oh, okay. But let me just say, so Molly, your second question was on
community solar and the credits that people might be seeing, the massive credits.
How did people handle that if they experienced that? Anybody want to speak about credits on community solar? Sean and Mike, you were welcome to jump in.
Yeah, I'm happy to jump in because this was something that Nexamp had to deal with a lot this summer. And so at least what we do at Nexamp, I'm not sure how Sunwealth or some of the other providers do it, is we're always happy to go in and change customers' allocations. So say you end up with way too many credits, you're even during the winter generating them at a faster pace than you're spending them on your electric bill. We can go in and essentially recalculate it and bring it down such that you'll start eating up into that credit bank again. So the one bummer is that it sometimes takes a few months for the utilities to process those allocation changes. So it's not something that can get fixed right away. But that is sort of the best and only tool in the tool chest we have at the moment.
Okay, great, thanks. Sean, any that sound about right to you, Sean?
Yeah, definitely. Try to factor in that kind of the R2 rate and the discount, the fuel assistance, things that make someone's energy burden a little bit lower. And so we try to factor those into the sizing first, and then size their subscription after those things are taken into account.
Hopefully that's helpful, Molly.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much.
And folks from Ashland, Rob, and whoever's sitting with Rob.
Yes, hi. I just wanted to say hello. We're a new group in Ashland that just started, so we haven't done anything yet. But we definitely plan to contact at least our neighbors and our other people, to see if we can learn from any of you. And we're happy to. We are very enthusiastic. We hope we get it going by the spring, and we're looking forward to the process. And it looks like we've got a lot to learn, so it'd be great.
Well, welcome. This is a super supportive, collegial group that is honest with each other, when we're struggling and how we can help each other. So we're thrilled to have you, and you have some neighbors in this little tile set of squares. So
definitely.
We can help connect you with you too. All right. Any other questions? I know Karen has a hand up, but as she said, she's spoken a lot. Anybody else before Karen want to jump in? All right, Karen, the floor is yours.
I just want to mention that Karen Herther, she's dropped off the meeting already, but she did a really amazing job this fall contacting businesses about the Main Street Energy Audit Program through Eversource and aecom.com. And I think it was successful. And I mean, she's gotten a lot of audits set up, but I think it was her individual contact with the businesses that really made a difference. I think the program would have been a lot less effective, and the town had put aside some ARPA money. So I think because of her individual contact with businesses, a lot of the businesses are getting $2,000 from the town to just help with the process of any energy or weatherization upgrades. And it's not a lot of money, but it's something. And KJ really made it happen. So I just want to say hurrah for her. And also, as we've done this process, we're realizing that in Acton, we've learned a lot about homeowner incentives, but we know very little about incentives and rebates for businesses. So if any of you folks out there have resources on that, we would love to hear about what you know as we research it ourselves. So thanks. And thanks to KJ for all her work this fall.
Has anybody done more with their commercial smaller businesses in town? I think many of the communities have veered a little on the residential side. Amy, have you guys done anything with that in Framingham? Not so much.
No. Yeah, in Newburyport we have with Energy Source.
Sorry, repeat your question, Ellen. I think I misheard you.
I'm going to actually let Molly do it. So is the question, who's done stuff with smaller businesses in their town? So Molly, you want to jump in there? And then Susan?
Sure. Yeah, so we have done a little bit, but we really worked with provider Energy Source and just came in and worked with our Chamber of Commerce and with them doing, showcasing their work and meetings at, group events, and then did individual consultations with local businesses. And I think they've had some pretty good success, especially with churches, actually. They've done a lot with churches, which has been great.
Eric, looks like you want to jump in on this one.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention in Concord, we just recently did a workshop with commercial property owners just to really talk about opportunities for them to electrify, rebates and incentives. So we had National Grid representatives and representatives from our municipal light plant who came and presented to the group and talked a little bit about electrification opportunities in town. So it was pretty good turnout. Most of them are smaller commercial property owners, 5,000 to 7,000 square feet, but it gave them a chance to learn about resources. And I'd be happy to talk to anybody about that.
Eric is the sustainability manager in Concord, although he lives in Wayland, I would also point out. And Susan, have you done stuff out in Western Mass?
Well, as part of the Community First Partnership Program, Eversource in our territory did a Main Street event in each of our cities for a couple of years. And they assign, a business to do the project. And for 1 week, they send out a postcard, and then they go and hit the neighborhood that they're targeting. My experience is that they don't go that deep. I wish they would. So when I have the staff to do so, we try to follow up with the companies that they do to see if we can get them to go further into electrification. But the MassSave website has a fair amount of stuff on what's available for businesses if anyone hasn't looked at that lately.
So my question is, if you're not a Community First Partnership community, will the utilities do that dedicated mailing to small businesses in your town, or do you have to be a
yeah, I don't know. It'd be worth calling your utility and asking them to, especially if there's a group ready to support it. And they always asked us to do things like do a lot of promotion and help prepare the way, but we've personally found that they kind of come in and blitz a neighborhood and do what they can in a week. but it would be worth calling your utility and asking them for sure.
Amy, do you want to chime in?
Just that Framingham has also run these Main Street programs a couple times. We are a community first partner, so I can't answer that last question either. But it's been really wonderful to do outreach to some of our harder to reach communities that have a lot of distrust of programs. You know, it sounds too good to be true, so they refuse to talk to anyone. And then so some of the smaller businesses that may have language barriers have had a lot of luck being like, oh, we can improve our lighting and make our store look nicer and not pay $1 million. But so that has been quite successful for us in that regard. I also have seen what Susan has said, like mostly lighting and refrigeration. I am curious if anyone has seen small businesses, and this is something I just don't know, that any incentives for small businesses for heat pumps, because we have a lot of small businesses that are essentially homes that have been converted. I don't know if that's included at the moment.
I think there's MassStave stuff in that, and there.
I keep hoping, but
I believe there is, but I haven't looked at it actually.
Okay, yeah.
Other things to share or problems you'd like to seek some input on?
Hey there. This is Lori from Melrose, and I just wanted to reflect on what was just commented about small businesses. Yes, they are eligible for incentives and can get the same incentive package as other commercial customers. It's just done on the commercial rate rather than the residential rate, if that's what the customer holds. So I wanted to just clarify that.
And have you guys had some, I know you guys have done more with small business in Melrose. Have you guys had some success there?
Yeah, so we're also a community first partner and have done a Main Streets effort, but I do know that the utilities will partner with you if you're trying to run something. They most likely will put you in touch with their lead vendor if you want to do a campaign. It may not be a full-fledged Main Streets effort, but they definitely do want to partner with communities that are doing efforts to reach small businesses. And I think from the challenges that segment has in terms of renters and landlords, it's definitely helpful to have community-based support for that, because you may actually know some of those landlords, whereas the utility and the vendor, their lead vendor, isn't going to know who those landlords are. Whereas folks in the community can definitely make a difference with forging the way and having deep work done. I agree with both comments before that, trying to get deep work in that space is challenging, to say the least. And the more that we can do to try to forge relationships with those parties, the more successful we're all going to be. I mean, it's the same challenge anywhere with renters and landlords. You got to know the landlords. Yeah. So that's kind of my take on it. So
thank you. That sounds sounds right in line. Yes, Susan?
One last thing about it. The good thing about the Main Street program is that they'll often do a special for the week. So for the duration of what they're calling the Main Street event, they might do a zero copay on something significant to small businesses. So it does get people in the door, which is a good start. And if you can get the information, the contact, or go with them, so you have the names of the companies that are working with Main Street, then you can follow up, 4 months, 5 months later after they've done that initial work. But those initial rebates or zero copays really help open the door. That's something they can do that we can't on our own.
And Susan, thank you for mentioning follow-up. Really, really important.
Yeah. All right. I think I want to take us towards ending up here, just to ask, we always try to get from you guys. We've had some interesting presenters these last 2 times, and we always save time for this sharing. So any thoughts about next meeting ideas? And I think Joe, Nathan, Amy, we were going to look at the date because December is always challenging. There were 2 things in our minds, but we're really, really open because this is really as much your community as is ours. The 2 things we'd been thinking about were, and these have come up before, like how do we evaluate campaigns? Obviously, there's always the outcome. Somebody signs up for solar or somebody gets an audit. but there's lots of engagement along the way. And we're thinking about this a lot in our eco cohort, ways to track engagement along the way. And the other, can we be using our testimonials more? Can we be making more hay out of that? And how do we do that? Those are two things we've been thinking about, but we're interested in your ideas, and then we could do a little poll on those other two. Other things that you'd really like to share about or learn about or bring in a speaker about?
Well, as I put a question in earlier about older homes and electrifying older homes and the steps you have to take that newer homes you don't have to take. So even if it's just reading material, if we have anything, I would like that. Or maybe it's not an issue for other people, but Newport has a lot of old homes. So
okay, that's a good suggestion. Great.
Thanks.
Other suggestions? I'll get you guys to put in the chat these other things that Amy, Nathan, and I have been playing around, like how we evaluate campaigns and how do we spur more testimonials or take advantage or use them or whatever. Put in the chat if either of those, or give me a thumbs. You could use a reaction. Is the chat easier for people? Because most of you don't have your cameras on. So thumbs, I guess you can do a thumbs up with your camera off, can't you? Right? So for evaluating campaigns, like how could we help come up with ideas on how to evaluate campaigns? Can I get a thumbs up or a thumbs down on that one? Watching, I'm trying to watch.
Looks like we're getting some good positive response.
Yeah, I think we're getting about half the people, maybe at 40%. And what about how do we maximize use of testimonials? We're thinking about some redesigns even on the testimonial part of our page. Talk to testimonials, how making more use of and effectively using testimonials. Would that be of interest? Down for Wendy. How do you get them in the first place? So that would fit into the, all right. So that is a little less exciting, but still so. Wendy, I'm curious, why do you really give that a thumbs down?
Well, because so often I try to read reviews of anything that I want to purchase or do, and I just don't trust them. I mean, so I don't know if other people have that feeling. I just kind of skip over it because
yeah, Hilly, you want to Hilly, I feel Hilly wants to jump in there.
Sorry, Karen, to jump ahead of you, but Wendy, we've had webinars where people actually talk about their experience. One of them townspeople organized that, and he calls it the Decarbonizer webinars, where just ordinary people talk about their heat pump and their EV and whatever, and take questions from people who call in. And we've had great success. Sometimes we have them in person as well. We probably should do more of those, but it creates a much more relaxed and honest atmosphere than just a written review.
Okay. Karen, looks like you want to say something.
Yeah, I just we did outreach in one neighborhood in Acton about heat pumps, and there was a lot of hesitation, and I think people would have felt much more confident if we had more testimonials, local people who had done heat pumps, and those neighbors could have spoken with those folks. And I think also people want to know about the financial side. So like testimonials related to the, how do people finance these transitions to clean energy?
In Wayland, we've kind of had the same experience with Hilly, where whenever we do a webinar, we do like 10 minutes on technology, and we have like at least 3 people in town talking about it, their experiences, and those you really trust. You recognize them, they live in town, it's not some random person. I don't know about you guys, but we also see that discussion going on a lot in our Facebook group for our community and in Nextdoor, where people are saying, hey, which vendor did you use? Did you like? And often those are names that you see names of people so you do kind of trust them. So I don't know. That's sort of been our experience. Okay, I think we're 2 minutes shy of ending. So any final? It looks like Eric's put in the chat, Wendy, a guide for sustainability for older and historic homes, and we'll include that in the follow-up because we saved the chat, Nathan, Joe, and we'll make sure to include that reference in there for sure. Thank you for that, Eric.
Thank you.
And Debbie, if we talk about testimonials, we could talk about how we get them in the first place. Ellen and Harvard is, I think wins a prize on that. So we maybe it's just her personal perseverance that is a secret ingredient. I don't know. Okay.
So we're going to keep it on Monday night, December 11th.
Okay, great. I think at that point, Amy, we'd probably be ready to share a little more about the survey, and we can walk people through it and then see if other communities want to use this survey as another way on engagement and learning. So we'll be prepared to do that, and there may be some other things. Okay, great. Well, I want to thank Mike. I want to thank Sean. I want to retrospectively thank Bev and Justin. Bev's been I should also say Bev has just been a real partner for MassEnergize, and we greatly appreciate that. And Brad, Amy, and I are thinking a lot about how our sites can integrate with theirs. So stay tuned as we kind of figure that over the coming 6 to 8 months. All right, have a good evening, guys. Welcome Ashland to the community.